how you see that how these trade and economic ties between the two countries will further grow.
We would like our relationship with Saudi Arabia to be robust, and that is to strengthen our relation in every walk of life, not only security, but also diplomatic, political, social, and most importantly, economic.
What are the gray areas? By addressing those gray areas, Pakistan could send more workforce with compared to other South Asian countries whose workforce is gradually increasing in Saudi Arabia.
Opportunities are huge because there are a number of mega projects like NEOM, Red Sea Project, Qiddiya.
How important is improved security environments for foreign direct investment, and how we can overcome this menace of terrorism?
And I think Pakistan had been very successful in from 2013 onwards till about 2017 to control the menace to a very large extent through dedicated efforts and sacrifices of the common people and security forces.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Insight in V News English. And dear viewers, today we'll talk about Saudi Arabia and Pakistan economic and trade ties. And when we talk of Saudi Arabia and Pakistan trade and economic ties, that is very significant, that is very, very important. And as far as these economic and trade ties are concerned, to take these ties to further heights, in terms of investment, a high-level Saudi investment delegation has been sent specially by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, to Pakistan. And the purpose of the delegation is to hold talks with the Pakistani authorities, Pakistani leadership, as well as the concerned business groups. So this delegation has arrived a day before, and today the delegation has spent a very busy day in Pakistan holding talks with various business companies. And there are reports that MOUs and agreements worth $2 billion are being signed with the Pakistani groups. This is very significant foreign investment from Saudi Arabia. To discuss this all, that in what are the potential areas of Saudi investment in Pakistan, and of course, and what exports Pakistan can send to Saudi Arabia, how Saudi Arabia and Pakistan economic and trade links could be further strengthened. We are joined by former ambassador of Pakistan to Saudi Arabia, Vice Admiral retired Hasham bin Saddique Saab, and he is not only a traditional ambassador, a very strategic person. He has also headed Islamabad Policy Research Institute as president. Ambassador Hasham bin Saddique, a very warm welcome to Program Insight in V News English. And I would just like to ask you in the beginning, how important is trade and economic ties between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia? And in the time to come, as this high-level Saudi delegation is already in Islamabad, how you see that, how these trade and economic ties between the two countries will further grow?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for inviting me to V News for a very, very important subject. Undoubtedly, Saudi Arabia happens to be one of our strategic partners and one of the most important allies of Pakistan. Our relationship with Saudi Arabia has withstood the test of time. The support by Saudis to Pakistan has been absolutely steadfast on every occasion. This current delegation, headed by His Excellency Khalid bin Abdulaziz Al Faleh, the most vibrant and dynamic investment minister of Saudi Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is very important. Traditionally, our ties with Saudi Arabia has been that of a security cooperation and our religious reverence and attachment to the Holy Land of Saudi Arabia, and of course our expats, which number 3 million. Unfortunately, our economic ties have not been to a level which otherwise should be in a strategic partnership. So therefore, the investment minister's visit to Pakistan and likely signing of nearly $2 billion MOUs with number of projects is indeed very, very, very welcome development. Particularly on two counts. One, that we would like our relationship with Saudi Arabia to be robust. And that is to strengthen our relation in every walk of life, not only security, but also diplomatic, political, social, and most importantly, economic. The second important factor is that Pakistan is facing every year a current account deficit, which requires foreign exchange earning. And I'm sure I'm sure with the projects in the pipeline, we will be able to export not only to Saudi Arabia, but also earn foreign exchange by exporting once these projects are materialized to other countries as well. So I feel this is hugely important and a very, very welcome development in this hour of need for Pakistan.
Ambassador Hasham bin Saddique, Saudi Arabia has shown great interest in investing in information technology sector in Pakistan, also in food processing, also in energy, also in technology and number of other areas. So this is, as you said, this is a very welcome sign. Our relevant quarters, our relevant institutions and organizations which are responsible for facilitation, are they in the capacity to continue this Saudi investment and to further build it? I mean, a shortcut, that capacity building is there?
I think you have very rightly identified the key sectors in which we have comparative advantage and where we can collaborate. Of course, information technology, Saudi Arabia under Vision 2030 in a few years' time will be highly tech-savvy country, both in terms of governance and in terms of adoption of technologies for future, their futuristic city of NEOM, and so on and so forth. Fortunately, Pakistan has a very capable workforce in information technology, and number of companies such as systems are already in Saudi Arabia. And there is a scope where quite a few businesses within the Saudi Arabia can be outsourced to Pakistan as well. So IT is definitely one sector. Second, one of the strategic objectives of Saudi government is food security. And food security, not only Saudi Arabia, but Gulf and other countries are also interested in food security. Pakistan with very fertile land and vast tracts of land which still can be cultivated. So Saudi Arabia looks at Pakistan as a food basket in terms of staple foods, rice and wheat, and then livestock, dairies, meat, fish, and so many other sectors. The third important sector is where Saudi Arabia has quite an expertise is mining. And I'm sure you're aware that one of the major undertaking would be Saudi's investment joining in Reko Diq project, and that will materialize in few months' time. But there are a number of other mining projects which both the countries can mutually benefit. And last but not the least, Pakistan's expat are contributing to development of Saudi Arabia, and I think Saudi Arabia provides us a great and regular source of employment of youth that we churn out every year. And I think we need to solidify and enter into a framework where we can export our human capital to Saudi Arabia for the high-tech projects which they are undertaking.
This is a very important thing you have, and my follow-up question is on this, that you have been Pakistan's ambassador over there, and you have been closely watching this Pakistani labor force, Pakistani technical force, Pakistani human resource being exported from Pakistan to Saudi Arabia. So you have closely watched these all things, and if it would be justified to say that where are the areas where we lack, and by filling the gap or by addressing those all gray areas, Pakistan can enhance its manpower to Saudi Arabia. Do you think The labor needs to be technically well trained, educated, and then white collar jobs like accountants, doctors, teachers, and many other people, in addition to the purely technical force. So, what are the gray areas? By addressing those gray areas, Pakistan could send more workforce with compared to other South Asian countries whose workforce is gradually increasing in Saudi Arabia.
But 2 or 3 points I wish to make as a follow-on to what I said earlier and associated with your current question is that while there has been in the past government-to-government projects under discussion, as you would agree with me that it is not the business of government to do business with their limited capacity within the government cycle. I think a time has come where private-led investment, both in Saudi Arabia and in Pakistan, needs to be undertaken. It is the private sector, are big players within Pakistan and in Saudi Arabia. Unfortunately, there's very little private capital which has been invested in Pakistan traditionally for so many years. So I think number one requirement is to make sure that policies are made where the private sector, entrepreneurs, the big business, then they need to take a lead rather than the government. Second, with respect to human resource, obviously, there has been a steady outflow of provision of workforce to Saudi Arabia since the early 60s. And the Pakistani technical force or technical human capital, whether they were chartered accountants or bankers or flyers or even the engineers, they have been stalwarts in laying the foundation at a very professional level within Saudi Arabia. And then there was a component where the large number of labor force was required for development of infrastructure. Now the times have changed. Now there is a different skill set required of human capital, not only in Saudi Arabia, but in the West where their population is aging. So it is extremely important that we send skilled force, whether in hospitality, rather than ordinary drivers, we need chauffeurs. Rather than just the labor, we need people who are tech savvy and who are able to handle modern machinery. So this transition, unfortunately, we have been a little slow in that. The Technical Training Institute, I think both Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are going to institute a technical institute within Pakistan where they will have certified professionals who can straight away after completion of the skill training can go to Saudi Arabia and be absorbed in their job market. So opportunities are huge because there are a number of mega projects like NEOM, Red Sea Project, Qiddiya, Murabba, and so many others, both in technology, in construction, and in so many other fields. The last thing I would want to say that Saudi Arabia, under the Vision 2030, wants to be leader, one of the lead, as a lead player in the region and one of the important leaders globally. And they want to indigenize number of production facilities. And that is one area where Pakistan and Saudi Arabia can collaborate, whether that is EV cars. And I think, suggest that we need to have a tripartite agreement between China, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan, where the Saudi investment can come into CPEC Phase 2, and similarly, these Pak and Chinese companies can go and invest in Saudi Arabia as well.
Well, this is great. Since you have been a researcher, a scholar in a think tank, and you are currently aware that what is happening in Pakistan. Pakistan is currently in a state of war, right, against terrorists. So there are security and intelligence-based operations in Balochistan, then in KP. Then we have another threat of cross-border attacks from Afghan forces. As it happened yesterday, and our security forces repulsed that attack. And then there was another attack on Frontier Corps security post in Balochistan, which was foiled by security forces. Then we had a very unfortunate incident in Karachi in which 2 Chinese engineers lost life. So my question now is quite clear. How important is improved security environments for foreign direct investment? And how we can overcome this menace of terrorism?
Absolutely. Every time the question of investment comes in, there is the talk of conducive environment. And as the foreign direct investment, or indeed the local investment, is also predicated on a stable and a secure environment. And I think Pakistan had been very successful in from 2013 onwards till about 2017 to control the menace to a very large extent through dedicated efforts and sacrifices of the common people and security forces. Unfortunately, what happens within Pakistan has a lot of external dynamics. You're up against hostile neighbors, hostile agencies, meddling in the internal affairs of Pakistan. So the security situation, in my personal opinion, requires a whole of government approach. You want political stability, you want economic stability as a necessary condition for taking surgical operations against the hardened or foreign trained militants. Terrorism. So I have no doubt that the nation is ready, and the armed forces and the other law enforcement agencies are fully cognizant of the matter. As a nation, when you're pursuing your strategic objectives, there are conflictual situations. There is resistance. So the nations have to spend effort and time to overcome that. So, inshallah, I have no doubt our partners, our friends, friendly countries are steadfast with us. They understand the situation, and I think apart from the surgical operations and kinetic operations, we need to concentrate on the socio-political and socio-economic aspects so that we create a conducive environment where the local population has stake in development of projects and overall progress of Pakistan. And I'm sure with a dedicated and a very determined effort, we should be able to overcome this menace of terrorism and other security challenges.
You very rightly said that in order to have more foreign investment, proper economic growth, and speedy economic revival and recovery, this security situation, counter-terrorism operations need to be intensified against terrorists. As you said, there is a need to carry out surgical operation. Now, coming back to Saudi Arabia and Pakistan economic trade ties. So, what Pakistan imports from Saudi Arabia other than oil? And if we are also importing oil, please also educate our viewers that what is the mechanism of import of oil from Saudi Arabia, because we are the biggest receiver of the Saudi oil, which is definitely consumed in Pakistani market, in Pakistani entire domestic market. So is it on payment-to-payment basis, deferred payment? What is the mode of this big oil trade between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia?
Okay, obviously the largest import from Saudi Arabia is oil and oil-based products. Pakistan does not have enough refining capacity. Therefore, we import crude, and we also import petroleum and other oil and lubricant projects from a number of countries, not only Saudi Arabia, but also UAE, Kuwait, and other Gulf states. The total volume of trade between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia has been hovering between $3.5 billion to about $5 billion more recently. Unfortunately, the exports from Pakistan had been minimal, $350 million to, I think currently they may have gone up to $500 million.
It's not up to the mark. It's not up to the...
It's not the trade imbalance. As far as the supply of crude oil is concerned, we have an agreement with Saudi Arabia that the oil supplies will be on deferred payment. And we only import about 110,000 barrels per day from Saudi Arabia. We have not been able to fully utilize the oil for deferred payment facility year in and year out because we have a number of other contracts with other countries as well. So there is scope to expand, and hopefully if the Pak Saudi refinery does see light of the day, hopefully then this import or this product will increase further. And I think there is a need that we need to expand our cooperation in this respect as well. And especially we need to pursue refining capacity, which Saudi Arabia was so graciously ready to build within Pakistan at a strategic location. As far as the other exports are concerned, generally we export food products, meat and rice and other things, and fruits, and so there is huge scope. But Saudi Arabia has very stringent rules which are based mostly on European and American standards. So therefore, the exporters have to make sure that the hygienic condition and the other quality standards are met, and all the trade is under a structured framework. And then the current Saudi delegation has Saudi companies under the PIF who are going to enter into a number of projects which are food related, and I'm sure there is scope for further expansion, inshallah, in the future.
Last question only. So Pakistan recently got $7 billion from International Monetary Fund, and Prime Minister on record said that China, Saudi Arabia and UAE played that important role in securing this particular grant from International Monetary Fund. And immediately the first installment made entry into the official kitty in the account of the State Bank of Pakistan. But the general question is that, and the leadership made it clear that this will be last program. So do you think this will be last program? What needs to be done quickly, 1, 2, 3, 4, that in the time to come when we are able to pay the next installment back to IMF, what needs to be done other than foreign investment? Please.
Okay. I'm not an economist, but broadly speaking, Pakistan is faced with current account deficit. That is, if we let our imports free, so the import bill amounts to about $80 billion. The remittances from Pakistanis abroad total around $30 billion. And the exports we're earning are hovering around $25 billion. So that means it makes a total of 55, and then there is a gap of $25 billion every year. So how do you fill this gap? Either you constrict imports, like last year, we came down from 80 to nearly 50. But once you constrict imports, what happens is that your growth goes down because a lot of imported material is required for running our industry. So therefore, how do you bridge this gap? Either you borrow and continue to pile up foreign debt. This cannot happen. So it has to be a mix of that. But number one requirement, I think, is to earn dollars through exports. And we have key areas like IT, like food exports, like mining, and so many other sectors like fisheries, which can earn billions of dollars.
Which is the biggest sector, textile, exactly.
Yeah, textile. So we need to diversify, and we need to take our exports from at least from the current 25 or 28 billion or 30 billion dollars to at least 50 billion dollars to overcome this perennial current account deficit or balance of payment problem which we face. So there are no two ways about it. We need to, on one hand, we need to curtail our expenditures and have import substitution rather than importing materials from abroad. We need to have indigenous capacity to fulfill the demands of our industry. So coupled with the import substitution and export-oriented projects and policies and export-led growth, that's the only way to overcome current account deficit. The other measure which we can take is have either currency swap agreements with or barter trade with countries, so that we don't have to pay in dollars to the import from the countries from where we import. So I think all these three measures, a comprehensive approach is required, and a long-term plan is required, that in 3 years' time or 5 years' time, we should be able to double our exports or triple our export by doing this. So there are people who are very good at it, and it is the question remains, and that is when it comes to implementation, we are not the best there is in the world. So there's a lot of room for improvement when we come to implementing the policies and projects.
Thank you so much indeed, Ambassador Hasham bin Saddique sir, for comprehensively speaking how Pakistan can attract more foreign investment, how current account deficit could be overcome, and how Pakistan can reduce its import bill, and how austerity measures, the most important thing you talked about, non-development expenditure needs to be brought down. Austerity needs to be implemented and introduced across the board in Pakistan by doing this. And you also mentioned about this barter agreements and currency swap agreements. And you also said there are bright chances in future of further growth in Pakistan and Saudi Arabia economic and trade ties. Thank you so much. Despite your busy schedule, you spoke to Program Insight in V News English. And dear viewers, till our next program, Khuda Hafiz and goodbye from studios.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.